Hey, it's Aaron McDaniel here. Wanted to reach out, get Qlirim Dauti. He's a wealth strategist. He's helped me with a ton of my clients. A great guy to know and have around. If there's any types of 401ks, IRA questions, wealth strategy questions, this is a guy that I usually direct people to have a conversation with. Qlirim, thanks for coming over.
Aaron, thanks for having me. I truly appreciate being on with you. So thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit how long you've been in the business, who are you working with? Give us a little bit of history, where you were, why you moved.
Yeah, no, great question. So been in the business about 12 years. Started at Wells Fargo, actually, cold calling in New Jersey while I was at Rutgers. So
all right, a Rutgers grad?
Yeah.
Grew up in New Jersey?
Grew up in New Jersey and then moved out here in 2011. Started with Edward Jones. Kind of cut my teeth at Edward Jones, kind of get going.
Yep.
And then made the transition to partner with Raymond James in 2019. And a lot of that was due to not having the right tools for high net worth clients and being able to partner with folks like yourself and, being able to have the flexibility and customization for specific needs for clients. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to clients, I get on the phone and I have these mortgage efficiency checkup calls, and I'm having these conversations with clients and checking out, hey, what's going on in your life? What are the things that you look for when you have these conversations with clients? What are the things that you say, oh, we need to address this, or there's opportunity here, so that when people are 5 or 10 years down the road, they're not looking back saying, man, I wish I would have.
Yeah, so great question. So we definitely go through a lot of different factors, but specifically for us, what we'll look at is we'll take a look and see. We'll start with where are the risks in your plan. Have you done a formal financial plan? We want to mitigate some of those risks early on so that they're not butting you down the line. And so we'll take a look at home and auto insurance. We'll take a look at your mortgage. We absolutely are reviewing mortgage statements and taking a look at where's the interest rate. Do you have too much tied up into your house? We see a lot of that where they'll be just, sitting on, could be $1 million or so potentially plus in just home equity. And with price appreciation that we've seen, it's like, all right, what else could we be doing? So we're reviewing that and seeing, does it make sense? And based on their stage of their life, we'll take a look and see, and then strategize on that and figure out, okay, does it make sense to have this much tied up into your house?
Got it.
So we go through a lot of different checkpoints to make sure that, most importantly, there are no holes in your plan.
Right.
And you're on the right track to make sure that your money lasts and you can retire comfortably and not have to worry.
Yeah. So ultimately, the goal is to protect their wealth, to grow their wealth. And is there any type of, and I want to address the fact that I'm wearing a T-shirt today, and you're dressed beautifully in a suit. And I think the point of this is I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that being a part of a financial team, having a mortgage banker or mortgage broker looking at it over your shoulder, having a wealth strategist look over your shoulder, it's for everybody. It's for, if you have an opportunity to put $2,500 to work or a few $100s a month to work, there's a plan, there's a tool, there's a strategy around what you're doing and why you're doing it. And we want to lockstep, arm in arm, and help everybody. Whether you're making millions of dollars a year or $20,000 or $30,000 a year, there's ways for us to help you, right?
That's exactly right. And especially with there's opportunities to, have an extra couple $100 more in your pocket based on maybe refinancing or looking at opportunities there to keep more in your pocket or pull some money out. Because if you're in a situation where you have too much tied into a home based on your current kind of, let's call it net worth or your total assets, you can get to a point where, what if we do see a recession and that money is locked in? You can't tap it now. Maybe the banks aren't lending. And now, you have money there, but now prices have come down. You don't have access to that money as quickly as you'd like for an opportunity that might arise.
Right. And it's one of the things that I tell people all the time. It's borrow money when you don't need it, because it's once you need it, maybe you get let go from a job or there's some situation or circumstance that makes it really tough to get access to that capital.
Yes.
And so I like to tell people, especially you're talking about equity, if we pull the equity that's buried underneath the foundation of their house out of it and move it into something that's earning interest. And a lot of times the interest that you're helping your clients earn is far greater than the interest rates that they're paying, right? So we're leveraging the mortgage interest, which is tax deductible, and we're putting into something that's growing faster. And so now they've got something that's liquid that gives them an opportunity if something happens in their life, some tragic or they just need the capital,
Yes.
right? For whatever reason, it's there and it's not tied into their equity. So even credit card debt is a big one that I see. When I'm pulling credit and I'm looking at people, they're stacked up with credit card debt. They've got a ton of equity in their house because maybe they locked in when it was 3 or 4 or 5%.
And those credit card debts, those ain't 5%.
Right.
Those are 25 plus.
Yes, and so why not tap into the equity, move it over, pay off the debt, invest that money, the extra money, capital, and increase your total net worth, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thoughts here.
No, absolutely. And that's why when we're reviewing their mortgage statement, we want to take a look and see. We factor that in as part of their total financial plan. It's like, all right, you have how much here? What is kind of ballpark valuation? Let's take a look at your debt. What's your mortgage statement? What a mortgage payment look like? And we kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense for everybody, but it could.
Right.
Like you said, it depends.
And so let's say we're talking about a typical borrower or a person that's got a W-2 job. They're kind of paycheck to paycheck. What should they be doing for tax strategy purposes or wealth, to build wealth? What are some of the things that you would say you need to make sure you're doing X, Y, and Z first? This is a first step, first step. What are some first steps for people?
Yeah, great question. So in a scenario of that situation, what I would suggest is step one is let's get any type of debt that has a higher than 10% interest rate. Let's take that down.
Got
right?
it.
That's
Knock
step
that
number
out.
one. And then step number two, because that helps with your credit.
Yep.
And it helps with your ability to borrow money down the line. So you're getting yourself ready for some type of purchase or refinance or what have you. Any debt that is greater than 10% interest, we want to knock that down. That's step number one. Step number two is we want to make sure that we have a little bit of a slush fund.
Yep.
And it depends. Are you married and are both the husband and wife working? Or is it just the husband? Or is it just the wife working? In a situation where both husband and wife are working, you typically want about 3 months of reserves.
Okay.
So if your expenses are $5,000 a month, you want about $15,000 as a slush fund.
So first they got to go through and realize what their expenses are. Because
Yes.
a lot of people are blind to even know what their expenses are, right?
Yeah.
So that's a step. That's something that you guys work through
absolutely.
as well.
And
Building
so-
a budget, is that
Yeah,
kind of...
that's exactly right.
Okay.
So kind of going back to, we'll analyze, okay, here's your debt that is the highest interest rate. We want to knock that down as fast as possible because that compounds.
Right.
And not in a good way.
Yeah.
It compounds the other way because $20,000 in debt at 20% or 25% interest, and now you're just paying the minimum, and that's stacking negatively.
Yes.
And so, yes, going back to building a budget, that's part of it. And so that will help with eliminating that debt quicker. And so we're throwing everything we can at that
Okay.
as quick as possible to knock that down. And it's helping with your credit. And now we're starting to build up that slush fund.
Yep.
And because you don't know what happens, AC goes out, something goes out, and you need that money more quickly.
Right.
Now you're in a pickle.
And so I guess back to home equity.
Yeah.
I guess that's the fastest way to fix a lot of problems, right? Tap into the home equity.
Yeah.
And we can look if somebody's got a killer interest rate and they don't want to lose that interest rate. Home equity line is a credits or second liens we can tie them to so we don't have to refinance the entire thing.
Yeah.
We can just pull some of the equity and then we'll give it to you to help strategize and put a plan together to help these people. What about 401ks, IRAs? Are there things like that actually help reduce taxable income? Do you help with that kind of stuff as well?
No, absolutely. So in your situation that you had said before, after we take a look at that debt and we knock that down and now we got a slush fund, that's when we say, okay, let's lower this taxable income. And so for those starting to earn more, yes, 401k reduces your taxable liability. And then depending on age too, we'll say, okay, maybe it makes sense to bite the bullet and go into your Roth 401k. Let's take a look at that. Let's weigh the pros and cons. Do you want to pay the tax now, or do you want to pay the tax when you retire?
Right.
And so,
because I don't know about you, but I think taxes typically continue to get higher and higher, right? As I think.
So I would say that more than likely taxes will be higher in 20 years.
Yeah.
Even in 10 years, let's
Right.
say, for a few factors. Number one, we're not going to get into any politics, but the amount of debt that America has
Right.
is unsustainable. So how are you going to pay for that?
Yeah.
You got to, at some point, you're going to pay a little
Taxes
bit more
have
taxes.
to get higher, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And so I would say 401k, IRA, we'll take a look at that. We'll try to strategize and see what makes sense. And it's really baby steps, little by little. And then once you set it, you kind of are like, all right, now you're not living with that.
Yeah, right. You
And
get
so
used to it.
you get used to that.
It. Yeah,
And that is so crucial for setting up good habits.
it really is.
Because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
It really is. And pay yourself first. It's kind of like before you pay your mortgage, before you pay this, before you pay that. It's like the very first thing you have to pay is yourself.
That's right.
And invest in yourself.
And you've done a great job of that yourself, too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I started, it's the same thing. It's, I started several years ago, but if I took $250 a month and I just started kind of putting it away, then you learn to live within your new amount of income.
Yes.
And then you can slowly increase that to where, I'm putting several $1,000s away every month of my income.
Yeah.
And it's just like you just learn to live without it.
Exactly. And then what we'll look at, too, is we'll say, okay, you're getting bonuses? Great. How much is your bonus? $20,000.
Yeah.
Perfect. Take 10, go spend, go on a vacation, do what you want. Go enjoy it.
Yeah.
Take the other 10, we're putting it for yourself. You're investing it for yourself, for your future.
That's it.
All right, let's take half, let's invest it. The other half, it's fine. It's you want to live too a little bit,
Yeah,
right? So
have some fun
have
with
a little bit of fun. So
But the faster you build up the wealth piece of it, the more interest you earn, the faster you can live more freely. Right?
That's right. And so what we'll do is we'll kind of incorporate this into their total financial plan and say, okay, here's you and your spouse. You guys are on this trajectory. You guys want to retire by 50, and right now you're 35 or 38.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you need to be putting away to get to that number to be able to live off of that money?
Right.
And so we'll back into the numbers, and then we'll run all kinds of scenarios of like, what if we get into a need of long-term care? What if this happens? Mm-hmm. What if inflation persists? What if we have some sort of great recession? What are the potential impacts of your plan? And we'll model it out into your financial plan, and it'll give you it'll spit it out and say, okay, if these negative factors happen, you went from an 88% success rate to a 62. Okay,
Right.
Now how do we adjust? How do we adjust accordingly?
Mm-hmm.
How much more do we want to save to have that extra safety net?
A lot of people that I talk to, I say wealth strategist or financial advisor, and they kind of like, oh, I can invest in my own stocks. Like I don't need somebody to make money off me by putting money into a stock market. What makes you different? Why should people think about using somebody like you that could easily invest in stocks or on their own?
Yeah.
Why you? Raymond James? Why?
No, that's a great question. So, a few reasons. Number one, we're building a great team that is really focused on taking care of the family, and
Okay.
because we're family oriented. That's how I was raised. I've got 3 kids, a wife here locally in Dallas, and so family is most important to me and our team, and so we want to make sure that we're taking care of them. And so on the investment part, yes, it's there's access everywhere, but for us, we want to see where we can add value in so many different areas. And we will make sure that we customize the portfolio according to your goals and your risk and what your financial plan looks like. And then on top of that, we'll incorporate not just traditional investments, we'll incorporate alternative investments.
Oh, nice.
And so we've got a whole array of different types of strategies that don't correlate with the stock market, don't correlate with the bond market. Those have been really good for our clients to weather storms like, for example, 2022, rates went up, so bonds got crushed. Where normally people that are thinking, especially, let's call them the baby boomers, be like, I'm in bonds, I'm in safe stuff. Bonds were down about close to 20%, about 15, depending what type of bond, but
Right.
Bonds were down in 22. Stocks were down in 22. So not much was up. Energy was up, commodities were up, and so those alternatives really kind of were a ballast to the portfolio and kind of did really well. So that's part of it. And then also we've got a client service model that makes sure that nothing gets slipped through the cracks. So,
Yeah, I think to anything, it's like, yeah, you can do something. You're one person and you can focus and do it. But how much easier is life and attaining goals when you have a group and a team kind of working together for the same goal? It's just to me, it does. Partnering, having a partner, having somebody to kind of look over your shoulder, help guide you, keep you on track, like the coach. You're the financial coach.
That's exactly right.
Right?
And we'll take a look at this. When I get a mortgage statement, I send it straight to Aaron. I'm like, Aaron, what do we got here? Where are the opportunities? Where can you add value? And that's
sometimes there's not.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what, here's where it makes sense to do something, and maybe it's not right now, but at least you got somebody looking at it and investing in it, right?
And you mentioned, okay, what makes you guys different, right? When we're reviewing those statements when rates were low, I was telling all my clients when we're reviewing statements, because they were mostly paying a higher rate. I was like, rates are at all-time lows. This was towards the end of 21.
Yes.
Get free money,
Yeah.
refinance it.
Yep.
And some of them did, and they got free money.
Yeah.
And they were able to make more money off that money.
That's
and now
right.
they're locked in a mortgage rate that's like 2.5%. And they're like, all right, and so that was great value.
It was great value. In Texas, we deal with an A6 rule, which is anytime you do a cash out refinance on a mortgage, your properties or your loan is now classified as an A6. And that makes it really difficult. You cannot add a home equity line of credit or a second lien to a mortgage that has an A6. You either have two options. You have to cash out refinance again. Interest rates are a little bit higher on the cash out refinance, and you have to keep 20% equity in the property. Or you can move to a rate and term refinance, and then as soon as we close on the rate and term refinance, we can then throw a HELOC and rate and term refinances have lower interest rates. So there's some cool ways that we can adjust that to give people the access to their equity and then give it to you to reinvest. And I know this is kind of a question that maybe there's a broad answer, and if we need to not say it, then we can cut this. But what do you think an average rate of return is for your typical portfolio today?
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I mean, if you look at a 5-year look back, a 10-year look back, it's some of the homework that I asked you to kind of go through and look at to see if you can give us a number.
Yeah.
And I know there's a range, but
yeah.
What's the range?
Yeah. So, and it depends on client, obviously. A 70-year-old is not going to want to be in an all-stock portfolio.
Right.
He just they've made enough money to be able to retire off of a certain distribution rate that they're comfortable with, and they don't need the swings. So it varies based on amount of risk. But I would say an all-stock portfolio should average at least 10% a year rate of return. And so, historically, since 1950, since 1950, the S&P 500's averaged about 10% a year. And so you're probably never going to get 10% on the dot.
Right.
It's always going to be up 25, down 13, up 30.
But just stay consistent, stick to it.
And so our big thing is like time in the market really does beat timing the market, because it's so hard to time the market on both sides, but time in the market. So the longer you're in the market, the more you increase your odds of winning, which is the complete opposite of Vegas, right? Gambling. And so the longer you're in the market, the more likely you are to win.
Right.
And so I would say that an all equity portfolio should average at least 10% rate of return a year.
I think that's brilliant. We're locking rates right now in the 5s, maybe sometimes the low 6s. And so if you're telling me you're comfortable getting 10% over a period of time, I get people that come to me all the time and want to throw a ton of money into a house because they don't want a house payment. And I just want to set the record straight. In your lifetime, you will never own your home. No matter if it's paid off, guess what? You still got to pay taxes on it, right?
Sure.
So you're always going to be making payments to the home. And so if you can leverage the money that you have and not bury it into the house and take it and invest it and earn 10%, and you're paying 5 or 6% on your money, there's a 4%, 5% arbitrage with the cash that you can have. And you look at that over a time period, 10 or 15 years, we can chart that out, and I can put a beautiful presentation to show you, hey, here's your net worth if you pay cash to your house. Here's your net worth if you put to 20% down and put the extra cash and invest it.
Yes.
And this one's going to be much bigger than this one every time.
Much bigger.
And it's time and time again. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so
especially if you give it enough time.
If you give it enough time, if you give Qlirim enough wiggle room to do and move things around and strategize, and then there's some of our clients are self-employed clients that they don't have access to a 401k. They don't have all the traditional things. What would you say to a self-employed person that needs wealth strategy or needs some help? What would you direct them to do? How do they start?
Yeah, so depends how many employees. There's quite a few factors there. If let's say you're a solo person, let's say you and the wife or something like that, and you've got a business and it does pretty well, you can do a SEP, right? And you could put away exact number I don't have it off the top of my head,
Yep.
but something in the ballpark of about 60-some thousand away.
Okay.
That's pre-tax, which is great.
And a SEP is is it like, what is that? I don't even know what that stands for.
Yeah, so it's for a self-employed person.
Oh, so, okay. Self-employed person. There you go.
Yeah, it doesn't stand for that, but that's what I call it. It is for us. But typically, they start to not get as effective when you start getting more and more employees because then you're obligated to do the same percentage into their own SEPs. And so those are better for just a 1 or 2 person kind of business.
Yep, makes
and
sense.
then you have also these things called simple plans. And so those are for small businesses under 50 employees.
Okay.
And very low startup costs, not like a 401k. And so those are for smaller businesses as well. And then you get into your traditional 401ks, which, there are some tax credits that have been given out lately. And so those can be a good way to put money away. And then, you can get as aggressive as a defined benefit plan.
Got it.
Right? So we've done those for doctors. Those types of we've done for lawyers and doctors actually, and they're able to put like $250 away.
Yeah.
Imagine not paying taxes on $250,000 of your income.
Love it.
So there's different ways of doing it. Just kind of figure out what makes sense for you and go from there.
I love that. So if we're reaching out today, if you're hearing this today and you've got some money sitting there in your bank account, your savings account, your checking account, you're earning 0.01% on that money, right? Like you're earning nothing. And I know there should be a cushion. I think it might make sense to reach out to Qlirim, let him go through and see how he can help you. A lot of people that are listening to this have a lot of money sitting in their accounts potentially, and they do it because they want to make sure that they have liquidity.
Yeah.
And so I think you could take advantage of the liquidity as well as the interest rates that can be earned. And having a conversation with Qlirim is going to be important as well. I've got this thing here called mortgage money. I created this mortgage money, right? Get a little close up of that. So this is a $2,500 dollar bill, and that's me as the king of Denmark on my mortgage money.
I like that.
And so what I would recommend is anybody that wants to get started with you with a financial strategy, with a wealth advisor, I'm happy to give this to you so that you can refer this to people, especially if they need to refinance, if they need to get into a house. Let's save them $2,500, and then that way they at least have $2,500 for something for you to do.
Yeah.
And kind of start the progress and kind of get started. So Qlirim has somebody in his office that can help. He doesn't work alone. He has a team as well. And so ultimately the goal is just to get people aware of what they have. And then I guess the last point that I would have is high net worth client. We're talking about a high net worth individual that maybe has investments at other places currently. Yeah. What are some things that you think separate you, and why would they reach out to Qlirim Dauti?
So a few things. Number one is, a lot of times they have things in different pockets, and they don't know how they overlap. They haven't done a true financial plan where we get into the weeds. Mm-hmm. And then, the access we have from our bankers to maybe having a need for some sort of capital raise on a business. We've got some different alternatives and different types of investments that are really unique and kind of private placement. And so I would say that it's not a bad idea to take a look and see what is your plan, what's going on, can you save? Are you mitigating taxes? Obviously for our wealthier clients, their number one concern is, one of their biggest concerns is taxes.
Right.
How do I mitigate taxes? Mm-hmm. But it's 3 different types of taxes. It's income tax, it's estate tax, and it's capital gains tax. So those are the 3 that we're always looking at. And then I go in with the meetings with them, with their estate attorney. We'll go in and have a conversation with them. I try to be the quarterback because a lot of what I'm realizing and a lot of these business owners and high net worth clients, all of these professionals are talking in silos. See, right now we're connecting, we're talking, that's great. But like the accountants, they're over here, they're doing their thing. The state attorneys are doing their things. The M&A attorney, nobody truly talks to each other and putting the client at the center of attention.
Right.
And so everyone's kind of in their own silo. And so we try to quarterback that and make sure that your team is talking to each other, and that's important.
And so for those high net worth individuals that maybe have 2 or 3 relationships with other financial advisors, are you comfortable? Do you work with other teams? Do you guys, how do you typically manage that? Like, are you happy to work with another financial firm to manage the money? Or do you guys try to get them to move it all over?
Yeah, so the short answer is no. If I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, like we've had situations where, client had money elsewhere but had a loan there that was so low, and we couldn't compete with that loan. We said, hey, keep that money there.
Right.
When that loan expires, we'll
Yeah,
come take
we'll
it.
move it
We'll
over.
come
Got
try
it.
to move it over. But
Yep.
we try to consolidate, and we may not be everything to everyone, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We want to work with good people, family-oriented people that have good values, and that's what's important to us.
Beautiful. Was there anything you want to say to the people watching this today or down the road that could inspire them? Any last words from you?
Aaron, I appreciate it. No, so a couple last words is, we truly do love working with people. It's a joy, and that's why I'm here with Aaron. Aaron's the same way. And so I just am appreciative of the opportunity to come talk and share a few thoughts. And if, we could help out a few folks along the way, we're very thankful. And
That's
so
awesome.
that's all I got.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in today.
Of course.
Qlirim Dauti with Raymond James. Thanks so much. Great seeing you.
Thank you.